Hi everybody, it's Mike Stephenson here from Turbo 360. Welcome to this episode of our Azure Cost Management and FinOps podcast. Today we're joined by Ahmed Bayoumy, who's from one of our partners who are based in Gothenburg in Sweden. Ahmed works for Conia, who are a company who specialise in Azure cost management, integration and many other things. So in this episode of the podcast, I wanted to have a bit of a chat with Ahmed, learn a little bit about Conia, about Ahmed's background and about what he thinks about the current state of cost management and the challenges that he experiences with customers in the real world. And this will help tee up future podcasts where we'll be talking to other people, and also we'll have Ahmed back as well, and we'll delve into some of these sort of real world ideas. So Ahmed, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. It's great to have you here. I know we met quite recently in Sweden, and you took us out for a nice little bit of food and some drinks and stuff, and it was great to get you on boarded as a partner. Could you tell people a little bit about yourself and about Conia?
Yes, thank you, Mike, for the introduction. And yeah, it was a great night last time we met. Went in Sweden, some English and Egyptian into a German restaurant. That was a nice evening. Well, yes, where to start? I will just give a small brief about my background. I came from Egypt, grew up in Cairo, which is quite a bigger city where has been focusing mainly in construction. I've been working all my life in construction actually, because it was a family business, and then it was like the thing we do there. We build pyramids and we have the construction as a main field. But then there, during my studies, met a Swedish girl, of course, because that's what can bring me so far from Egypt up here. It was love that brought me here in the beginning, and then I started to explore the Sweden world, and it was quite of a shock in the beginning because Scandinavian culture is a bit of it's a bit different than what we have in Africa or the Middle East. So it was quite interesting, and I can actually be confident now calling myself that I became more Swede than Egyptian. Currently, I've been living here for 10 years now, since 2011, or the end of 2011, the beginning of 2012. So yeah, that's how I end up here. I have at home my beautiful wife, which has been we've been together since 2007 now, and 2 kids, and recently decided to get a dog as well, because that was one of my things that I need to have.
What kind of dog did you get? You know, the really important questions here. What kind of dog did you get?
I actually got a mixed breed between Border Collie and Husky. I had a bit of researching. It's a rescue dog, but that was the parents. We researched a bit about that, and we found out that he is that mix. So he is unique in his way, because you don't have a certain way to deal with him, since he's a mixed dog. Apart from that, I like to pretend that I can produce some music, which is I usually do it at home. I don't publish anything, but it's usually I do it until someone complains that the sound is horribly enough. I started my apart from that, I started my integration. My journey with integration, or in IT, in an interesting way, because I was always interested in coding, and I was trying to find a way since I was younger with how to code and how they write these games and how to build a computer, like most of us did actually. So it was some kind of a hobby I do at home that I didn't really think about. And when I came here, I decided, since I changed country, why not try to find another field? And I've been searching around, trying to find a job in IT, and I landed in Conia in 2015, where they were kind of searching for some juniors to teach them integration, because as we know, also integration competence is not really everywhere, and you need to teach the person. There is no school that teach that. And I was a little bit naive, thinking that okay, I can go there and just they will teach me. I did not understand that I had to have a lot of background, and I actually got rejected in my interview at Contica in the beginning. That's
stuck in.
Yeah, that was a fun fact. Yeah, but I realized that if I left, we was in an office having the interview, and then the person who interviewed me told me that, well, you don't have enough background for us to just give you this job or even try, because I think you need to work on your own a little bit, and then we can maybe talk later. There was a polite way, but then I decided if I left now, then I will never learn anything. I will keep learning at home. So I told them, but you don't know really what I can do. Try me instead. So he gave me the most challenging task I had since I worked. I've been now working for some years. He told me to, it was a Thursday, and he told me to make a presentation about bespoke architecture on Monday, which is that takes something that takes years. We know that.
Not an insignificant task, is it?
Yeah, so it was a long weekend with me trying to learn, and I surprisingly to me also, I landed the presentation and I explained how it works, and I even had a technical argument with one of the people that was listening to the presentation, the employers of the company. It was one senior developer. So and that's made Contica decide to hire me.
So I think at this point, Ahmed, as an audience member, I'm sure that there's a really obvious question floating around. So you talked at the start about your kind of construction background in Egypt, and you mentioned the pyramids, and I'm kind of wondering which one's the most difficult between kind of doing an architecture diagram or an architecture presentation on BizTalk in a weekend, building an Azure solution, or building a pyramid. Which one would you?
Yeah, both
you
of them.
one.
No one. But both of them, no one knows how they become made now. But I think I think
you're talking about the pyramid though, there, aren't you? Not BizTalk.
Yeah, BizTalk. Everyone is still wondering until today, I think.
So tell me a little bit about Contiga's service then. What do you guys kind of focus on, and how's that been sort of going and changing?
Yeah, I can just give you a fast brief about Contica's company that started with like the idea of trying to find a new way of delivering services, consulting services specifically, because it was like it's a little bit challenging to be a consultant and to be in that world and moving from a task to task and like from assignment to another assignment. You don't really find your ways, and you build maybe competence that you are not able to use where you like, and sometimes you end up, it's not really your choice where to use what. And that was the spark that started Contica, I think in 2011. Now I hope that I'm saying the right number, but my memory helped me. In 2011, they started with the concept that they work together with many customers remotely, so they can share the competence to teach each other how to fix the problems day to day without feeling that they are sitting alone at the customer and they have to deliver all the time, which is was a new concept back then, because back then though no one was working remotely. It was a big challenge. And the focus was on Microsoft products, and still Microsoft integration specifically. That's where we are specialized, how to build integration and business processes and integrate them.
So from that, then what got you guys into cost management and Azure costs from integration?
Yeah, that's also has its own history, because if you come from the BizTalk world, you have the fixed infrastructure, you have the fixed platform that you just pay, and then you have the license. You know that I will use as much computing services or computing power as much as I need, and you pay for that, and then you have the license for the product itself. and you pay that and you are good to go, which is fixed price. But then you are also get limited with like how much you need to maintain that. The cost usually land on the people that work with that, consulting or like employer or the team itself. And it was a bit of a challenge. And now when everything is moving to the cloud and migrating from that, and this technology is updating, we faced a new challenge where you would need to migrate everything, and now you're gonna start to actually think about cost more, because we did not think about that before. You had the components and you just have them running, and the pay-as-you-go concept made it SaaS. Overall made it like, if I am gonna design a solution, then I need to think about how it will cost, and since the service itself is changing all the time, I need to keep my solution up to date.
So it's really, so it sounds a lot like that transition for your customers from predictable fixed costs to variable costs is a difficult problem for them to handle. Is that kind of like a fair summary of that?
Yes, and for us as well as like the consultants that we are trying to, because sometimes you need to motivate your change, what you need to improve, because that's gonna be affecting the cost. You're gonna have a lower cost. You're gonna build that, and you need to invest in that now to lower this cost, because you cannot just lower it while with the solution as is now, as example. So this is like an important thing to think about while discussing with the customer and motivating your improvements.
So do you see like the challenge that a lot of, so I guess there's two elements to your challenge. It's one, the challenge the customers have that you help them on their behalf, but also the challenge that as a delivery partner you have in sort of delivering a project, understanding what those variable costs are going to be. I guess there's like two sides to that you really see.
Yes, and yeah, that's actually that is, and also you get a kind of a pressure, not a pressure. You have the like responsibility pressure that you need to be aware of what's happening and how much it costs and why it costs this much, and you need to have the answers when the customer asks you why this costs this much. Can we reduce that? And sometimes, of course, if you are the components that you're using in Azure, or like how many the payloads that you are processing, or the workloads overall, how are you gonna motivate that, or how are you gonna explain that? And of course, we cannot expect everything from Microsoft to provide a ready solution for that, and because it's quite a wide range.
So do you, like when I hear your answer there, in my head I'm imagining this scenario that's changed over time on the projects that you do, where beforehand it was kind of trying to predict what that fixed cost's going to be, before the project gets signed off, and then you've got obviously a little bit, mainly it's people time after that until you go live. But then I guess now it sounds like a lot of that costs move to be after go live as well. So you have that ongoing kind of management with the customer about how much does it cost month by month, for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years after go live kind of thing. Is that a fair sort of assumption there from what you see?
Yes. Yes, it's as long as you're gonna use everything is moving to SaaS services now, and the more you use that, the more you will need to keep track of the cost, because it can just sometimes you like react too late, so you need to be ahead of this challenge all the time.
Yeah. So what kind of things do Conia do then to help customers with those problems? What's the sort of the main things you tell customers about and services you offer?
Yeah, what we are trying to keep up with services that Ox provides from Microsoft, like as they change from consumption to standard, which can reduce the cost. And because we don't only try to redesign the solutions because it's a new technology that's coming out, because also it's gonna be cost efficient for them, and that's and also trying to give a report, like to build reports, which is a little bit of a hustle to do with the existing solution. Sometime, if it depends on how big is your environment, but like if you need to give a report to the FinOps or the person in charge of the economy at the customer, to give them control over the cost, how it will be and how much they're gonna spend this year. This time-taking task, and also sometimes you might get things wrong because you are predicting something that you are basically predicting it, and hopefully it will follow this prediction.
So do you, I guess with the projects that you're doing, so for anybody who's not familiar with Ahmed already, with Conia doing a lot of integration solutions, I guess you've got customers moving from on-premise BizTalk servers, not just moving to cloud with virtual machines, but there's also a transition to platform as a service components in a lot of cases where you're using API, logic apps, functions, that kind of thing. So I guess that gives, it's not, some companies will just have that lift and shift of VMs on-prem to cloud, but there's a lot of similarities between how it works and what the costs are. But I guess for your customers, it's a completely different mindset from, VM on-prem to PaaS services.
Yes, it's I didn't really get the question there. What?
Oh, sorry, I'm kind of just playing back my understanding of the type of transition that your customers have going from on-prem to PaaS, and I guess that introduces a lot of different kinds of cost challenges. That it's not just a VM you're paying per hour for a VM instead of fixed price. You've got the whole kind of the fact that a PaaS service, each of them costs in different ways, and they're not all just per hour and stuff, are they?
Yes, and you can add to that also the challenge of sometimes you will lift and shift that solutions or those machines that you have on-prem to the cloud, and then you calculate only the start price, which is like where you actually the solution as is now without calculating how much it will cost within a month or within a year, because that can add up, because you need to your workload is getting higher since you are moving to the cloud, and that can be a little bit tricky to keep track of.
Yeah. So do you find that like any particular sort of challenging questions come up in those discussions with customers? Like, is there particular types of Azure resources customers find difficult to understand how the costs are going to work in the cloud?
Yes, certainly. Because sometimes I would have a case about, not a case, maybe an example of if you're running some logic apps, and those logic apps are like triggered by processing that's on the wrong time. They are not really, they shouldn't be running now. They shouldn't be triggered now, but you have like scheduled them and they just keep running. And if there is nothing to run, they just keep going anyway. And you cannot build the solution that's scheduled, because you cannot build the solution that's scheduled in the beginning when the workload getting lower. Let me rephrase that again. It's like when you are having this workload and you are expecting that, and then this workload gets lower at some point, because it happens. If you're gonna process some files or some data from an API, from a database or whatever, the load can get less by the time after maybe 2 months of you running this integration. It was a big need then. So how are you gonna have a scalable solution? You cannot consider that in the design. And then you realize that I didn't need to have this run after 2 months now. We need to make it run less now. And to keep track of that with a resource, in a resource level, it's a little bit tricky. You need like a full-time job to actually.
So I guess that's kind of like optimizing the workload usage of sometimes it's scaled up, sometimes it's scaled down, sometimes it's turned off, and those kind of challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's actually what motivates customers to move to the cloud the first place. They want to control their cost.
So how do you, like with the customers you engage with and also with your own consultants, who do you find sort of takes responsibility for what elements of the cost on a project?
That's a good question.
Sometimes does it vary much by customer, or do you find a lot of customers have similar setups?
No, it varies a lot actually, and sometimes there is no one is responsible to keep track of this specific question. It's usually you handle it when it becomes a problem, and then you start to say, okay, we need to put someone responsible for that, and usually this person have it as a side task. And the monitoring of this specific monitoring of the cost, wasn't even a question before.
Yeah.
You don't consider that while developing, so there is a gap already between the economy and the developers in that case, and this question have been assumed to be controlled. It's something that you pay for anyway, so you don't need to think about it. You just focus on the technology.
So as a strategy for your consultancy, I guess, do you see that being seen to be excellent at helping customers manage costs before they're even really thinking about it's going to be a good differentiator for you on future projects?
Yeah, sure, because that's a key. I think that's how the key. Why would you take a consultant in the first place? Because you want someone expert in what they do. When we are expert in the technology, we create great solutions that's scalable, but we also need to create cost that's scalable, because at the end of the day, we want the company or our customers to scale up and be bigger, because that's where you grow with them.
Yeah, so I guess for me that's an interesting sort of statement there when I think about FinOps principles as kind of taking ownership of your cloud usage because you built the solution is kind of one of the foundation principles, isn't it? So I think if you demonstrate that during the delivery of the project, then customers that are struggling to kind of implement that see you doing it and kind of want more teams to act like your team is, kind of thing.
Yes, and we started recently now to package this as a service we provide, and we are now trying to put it as like a fixed part of the design, because the customer really will look if the customer have someone reviewing the solution, we will say, we need to monitor your solution, and you need to have those people have access to those resources, and also this will be your cost tracking solution or reports.
So is that where you're kind of sort of taking the lessons you've learned while building integration projects, sort of identifying that sub-service of cost management, kind of breaking that out to be a separate thing you can also offer to customers, taking the experiences that you've learned doing it yourselves and share that with the customer. They can use that on their other projects and the wider organization.
Yes, exactly, and that's because the main thing we have is to create value for the customer, and the more transparent you are, and the more you will show your expertise by sharing your knowledge, and that's a great way of sharing the knowledge. I am creating those solutions in that way, to consider this cost, and I know that you have this budget this year, then we will work on that.
How do you find how do you feel about the balance when you do offer those kind of services between the technical and non-technical aspects of cost management? Because obviously you guys have a significant amount of experience with Azure resources and various configurations of them, but for cost management there's also a big non-technical element to being successful about managing people and stakeholders and their expectations around what data they see. And I guess most companies want to see the bill go down, or at least feel like it's under control. So how do you find the balance for your team in getting into those non-technical pieces?
We have been always working on educating the team and all the staff or like consultants that work with the customers. That you need to be able to speak to the customer language in different department. Like I cannot talk to if I'm gonna talk to a developer, then I will need to use this terms and data that belong to this subject or that this person understand and relate to, and I need to be able to build this expertise about translating what I'm doing in more economical way, so this in numbers, so the stakeholders can actually understand why are we doing this and how are we doing and what is the effect, the economical effect of that on them.
Yeah.
If it's positive or like most of the time we aim for not negative, but like we try to show that. So we are trying to educate staff mainly, and this is soft skill that we are developing, and I think we are on the right track on that. Make everyone in the company, as long as you have to make them agile, not only work in agile, to know who are you talking to before you go in, then you talk their language.
Yeah, so I feel like integration people moving into cost management is a good thing. I feel like integration people have the right soft skills to be able to do that. Used to dependency management, used to speaking to stakeholders on different application teams and translating technical concepts between teams who may understand their world very well, but not the world that of another application they depend on. Do you find that in the real world's kind of quite important, and integration people tend to there's a lot of things that come naturally to them that helps?
I think it's more crucial than important to learn this soft skill, especially now, because if you are moving to the SaaS services and you want to develop on that, then you need to be able to talk about the cost, because that's what we focus on currently. And we have been, you don't want to be the person who builds something that's cost a customer a lot of money, and then you don't want the fingers to be pointed at your solution. You want to create more scalable things and adapt to the development of the market. So I think it's crucial. More, it's not only important. Everyone has. We don't have really a choice than to move towards this direction.
So have you got any interesting stories from, like, obviously you can't go into too much detail, but any good stories, cost savings, or things that you guys have come across where unexpected stuff happened that you can share with us? Because I think most people have come across a few things over the years.
Yes,
interesting.
Yes, we have a couple of examples that we have been recently realized that our development and test environment are costing way more than they should. And that was like quite a shock, because you don't really think about that. You are giving the environment and subscriptions to the teams to create labs and sandboxes for their solutions to ensure the quality. But sometimes you forget that there is running solutions actually there that keep costing all the time, and suddenly you get an invoice that's saying that you have been paying this much for basically things that no one is using currently for a long time. And with a customer, another example with a customer that, like, customers just having a simple question: why we started to have this cost, why the cost increased this much lately, what happened, can you please explain to me, and can you please provide a report? It creates when you don't have the right tools for just producing that fast enough, honestly, I will try to speak honestly here also you'll start to feel that I should have that, I should have control over that, I should have this reports ready, I should have this done tomorrow so I can just answer that. But you can't, because you will have to go through all of your subscriptions and what have been done, and also your projects, what have you been adding lately, and why those things have been costing this much. So you can have a fast answer which it doesn't really give much information it's like your workload have been higher lately, so that's why it's grow. But you don't want to answer that because you still want to deliver quality even with your answers.
So I guess the sort of key things in that are that you didn't know the cost was creeping up, and that it's quite painful to sort of start zeroing in on where that cost is actually going and what caused it. And then kind of the obvious ones, how do you stop it happening next time? So what were your sort of lessons learned from that? What kind of things did you change on the back of that?
Well, I start to value more the FinOps as a skill. That's the first thing, because it doesn't matter. We have been learning over the years that it doesn't matter what kind of tool you use or what you have. You need to start with people. You need to have it as a culture, and then when you have the culture and the mindset, you add the right tool to that. So we started first with a mindset and to learn about how to control the cost, and then we researched where is the best tool to actually handle this task. And there we got contact with Turbo 360 about the tool that have been made, and I hear that the story of the tool itself made me also got impressed, because it was the same problem that we have. That there is a higher cost and you want to control that, and it solved a lot of our problems, because you can easily track your cost and get reports.
So do you now find that you can have, I know we find this when we monitor our tools internally, is that you spend less time trying to get the data to work out what happens, and you spend more time having a conversation about, if you see a cost that's changed, what is it that's, what have we done that made that new cost happen? And we'll talk about design changes that people might be doing, and kind of you jump on these issues quicker and you see them in development, so you start fixing them before they go anywhere near production and stuff. Is that kind of the same thing you guys are finding?
Yes, certainly. And usually when we are like, it's not only, we are not the ones who are sitting with the cost here. So we talking to also stakeholders that's having, they focus on the economy, and we want to give them the right. Yes, we do, as you say, but we also wanted to give them some kind of a dashboard so they can control, and then use the role of a FinOps to translate what does those mean, because it's still numbers in the end. But like maybe it's a server that need to cost a lot, that need to remain as is. That kind of solution, this kind of what you call it, cooperation, that did not exist before, and to give to talk to the right person, the architect that's who designed that, they can redesign to make it better, or maybe we can leave it as is because it suits the business needs currently.
Yeah. So Ahmed, I've got a couple of questions. So I think we're kind of coming up towards the end of the podcast. There's a couple of things I just wanted to let the audience know about, and then I've got two little questions I want to ask you at the end. So the first thing is we've at Turbo 360, we've obviously partnered up with Conia. We're going to run a cost management workshop in March in Gothenburg in Sweden. So Ahmed's going to join us. His team will be available. Our team will be available, and we're going to invite people to come along, and we're going to have discussions about cost management on Azure. We're going to do a hackathon to try and identify cost savings for people and kind of create data transparency. So we'd love people to join us. Ahmed, would you like to say anything about the workshop and what you'd like to see people get out of it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it to start with. It's really the first of a kind that we are actually involved on cost focused workshop, or like an event, which is really interesting and opening a new doors to listen to customers' need from another perspective, which is a cost perspective, and giving, I see it as opportunity for education for customers. That's actually, maybe you don't know how to control the cost, or maybe you don't know how Azure cost works, then you will have an opportunity to come out of this workshop knowing exactly what to look next time, and hopefully also you will get way familiar during the short time with the tool, so you will be able to use it by yourself later, which is the key there.
I'm hoping we find a few people who come to the workshop can identify plenty of wastage in their Azure environments where there's things that they didn't realize they've still got that are still costing them money, or that are way over provisioned, and it gives people lots of ideas for how to go and save money afterwards. So I think we said that was the 13th of March that we're doing that workshop from Brett. I'm just going to sanity check that to make sure I got the right date.
Yeah, the 13th of March, yeah.
Yeah, so it's in Gothenburg. So if you're in Sweden or somewhere in Scandinavia and you can come along to Gothenburg, we'd love to see you. We'll be sharing registration details for that in due course. So the last two questions I had, Ahmed, when it comes to the experiences that you guys have had with cost management on Azure so far, if you had a magic wand and could make some problem go away, you're only allowed one problem though, what would you address first to make your life easier?
Oh, that's a good question. One problem to fix. I want to be able to, if it's related to cost, I want to be able to identify the optimization areas fast in a sprint phase. Like more of yes, that's a problem. That's a problem that I need to be solved, and it will solve a lot of problems.
So do you see? So that's a really great sort of idea there. Do you see that you would be doing a sprint retrospective, and as part of that retrospective, you might review your costs and look for optimizations you can take forward into the next sprint as part of an agile process?
Yes.
Yeah, that's quite a good idea. That we may have a future podcast about that. I like that idea. I might have to have a chat with you about some ideas we can. Yeah, I love these ideas. The idea of kind of, as the podcasts go forward, just bouncing ideas around with people, and we can maybe get whiteboards up and talk about, what kind of things we would like to do and stuff. So the final question, Ahmed, for the next podcast, we don't know who the person's going to be on it yet. We've got a whole bunch of podcasts lined up, but I'd like to ask you if you would like a question to be answered by whoever's on the next podcast. If you've got anything you'd like to ask, sort of cost management, FinOps, or even just general.
Well, I would say cost management and FinOps. It's quite a challenging. Any question you said.
Anything you like. Yeah.
Anything I like. Okay, I would ask them. When was last time that you actually had thought that you have control over your cost, and you have been trying to work overnight to fix this issue and collect the data about this thing, where you had to do that?
So kind of like, when was the last time you did a cost review? How did you feel about it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll ask that to the next person on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time today, Ahmed. Sorry, you were going to say something there.
Yeah, I know. I had another question also, because since we don't know the person and we don't know where they are from or the name, anything, so I would say suggest the best restaurant nearby your town.
That's a good one. So in that case, I think we need you to tell us the best restaurant near your town, so all these people who are going to come to the workshop in Gothenburg, they know where to go while they're in town.
Oh, I will give them a suggestion about where we've been the last time. Actually, that was a good one. I think there was a little bit chill and good food and nice atmosphere.
Yeah. The beer was good there as well. Even though I must admit I was drinking non-alcoholic beer, but it was still really good.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Snitchel Palatset. I don't know if someone can keep up. It's like Snitchel House in English.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, Ahmed.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great. We'd love to have you back at some point as well.
Yes,
just
I would love to.
About how you are doing. And you're welcome to, if you want to bring any of the team along as well, who might be able to contribute as well, that would be really great. We'd love to get to know some of the people on your team. So the next episode of the podcast should be out fairly soon. Otherwise, thank you for listening today, and we'll provide details of the cost management workshop alongside the podcast, and we'll also be doing a lot of other workshops. So we'd love to hear from people who might be in a city somewhere where you think there's people who would find a workshop interesting, and we can come and visit you and do a workshop there as well. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks again, Ahmed.
Thank you.